Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, looking at Marcelo's Seiko diver. This is a Willard. Now this is a reissue of the original Willard, and this has a very retro look to it. And check out the case. I mean, this is a really interesting case, and comes down here, and you've got the way the crown guard comes out here. Of course, the crown is at the fore, and just a very interesting case. This is probably a love it or hate it case shape. If you like a funky watch, then this might be the watch for you. If you like contemporary cool, probably not. All right, let's go into the tactile qualities of the watch. Let's look at the bezel first. And wow, it's got a very tight bezel. In fact, I'm gonna turn it as fast as I possibly can. Okay, I'm using 100% strength here. This is as fast as I can turn it. It's very quiet, and it's a little hard to turn. I think it's a little too hard to turn. With wet fingers, this would be impossible. So I don't know how usable this would be in the ocean. Now, it's got a 120 click bezel, and right here it looks like it lines up perfectly. All right, so as far as the sound, here it is. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's got a quiet sound. You could use this in an office and nobody would notice it. So that's kind of nice. It's not got an annoying, overly loud click to it. They would ask you, and you'd have to be insane to agree to it. If it was just a little bit easier to turn, I would say everything would be fine. Does it have any rollback? Let's see. A little bit. Pretty perfect as far as the alignment goes. All right, so no issue there. No issue with the alignment of the date. Looking at the dial, that's very interesting. I mean, looking at the crystal, it almost looks like there's minute marks on the rehaut and the dial, but you can see the rehaut's metal. And it's that sort of optical illusion that happens from the crystal, which is probably sapphire crystal, is my guess. And you've got nice big lume plots. This probably looks really cool at night and very satisfying. Now, as far as the lume and the indice at the 12, it's a pretty nice 12 indice. I mean, sometimes the 12 indice on Seikos are kind of weird, like the SKX indices, I think, are kind of odd. The regular indices are pretty nice, not quite squares, more rectangles, but very nice. And it looks like they sort of flare out as they go towards the rehaut. So that's really nice. Very nice hands. I like the minute hand a lot, and it reaches into the minute markers, and it pairs nicely with the hour hand, and that reaches close to indices. Very nice. A lot of lume there. And the really interesting second hand, the stoplight second hand, very characteristic of certain, I want to say vintage Seiko divers. Really interesting. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. It's odd. I love that little bit of red, but it's kind of weird, but I like it. I think it's neat. And Marcelo has another watch with a similar shaped second hand. This is a blue dialed watch, and it looks like it's kind of shiny, but definitely not sunburst, but almost matte. And it's got an aluminum bezel. I love the texture. Really nice. And as far as the font goes, it's kind of similar to another Seiko that Marcelo has, and I'm looking at it. And when I was actually looking at this watch, I said that the font was sort of all right on it. And I would say the font is so similar. Look at the 2. The 2 is a little bit different. I prefer it on here. Maybe it's the way that the font looks on a bezel insert as opposed to a metal insert, which is what this has. But I think it actually, even though it's so similar, it actually looks a little bit better on here, in my opinion. It's probably a result of whatever they needed to do to machine the indentations into the metal. Again, this is a metal bezel, and look at the texture. Not a fan of that. I think this is much better, and you can see down at the 20, beautiful. That texture of the aluminum is so nice. Beautiful blue color. This is a beautiful blue. It doesn't pop too much, but it's interesting. And yeah, let's get into it. And okay, it unscrews really nicely. Okay. Let's see how it winds. Okay, let's see if you guys can hear this. Very similar wind to Marcelo's other divers, including that one that I just looked at.
It's the same movement.
Oh, the same movement. Okay, that explains it. It's got a very high-pitched wind, a lot of clicks per turn, and again, when you wind it fast, it doesn't feel like gears are just spinning like mad in there, which gives movements a zippy wind that I'm not too crazy about. Probably 2 positions here. In fact, of course, there'll be 2 positions. Let's see. Okay, so that's the second position. Yep. Feels really good. Cycle through. Back to 20. Today's the 20th.
Have 70 hours power reserve.
Okay, 70 hours power reserve. All right, so let's hack it. Now, if it's anything like the other movement, then when you take your finger off the crown and stop turning, it just stays put. Oh, there's a little bit of rollback there. Look at that. So look at that. Interesting. Marcelo's other watch didn't do that. What about if you go this way? No. Okay, so this is the way I probably would set this watch. If you turn it this way, you can get it perfect. But if you go this way, it kind of goes back a little bit. That's interesting. Let's see if it moves at all. It shouldn't. And it doesn't. All right, so that's really nice. And as far as winding it down, again, just like that other model, it winds as it winds down, which is something I'm not crazy about. All right, so let's look at the bracelet. Oyster style bracelet. It tapers. This looks nice enough. And the clasp, well, this doesn't lay flush. In fact, look at that. It comes up a little bit, rattles a little bit, but not bad. Not bad. Okay, interesting. I think this must be just about the same clasp as that other model that we looked at. I mean, it's feeling pretty much identical. It's got buttons on the side. All right. I mean, not bad, but probably the weakest part of the watch right there. All right, so what do I think it costs? What do I think it's worth? I think this is a really interesting watch, and I would say this is worth $400 to $500. Okay, that's probably what I would say it's actually worth. Now, that's not the price. The price is going to be a lot higher than that. Now, this is a reissue. My guess is that they probably wanted you to pay for it. My guess is north of 1,000. I would say 1,200. What is it? What's the retail price?
The price of retail of this watch is 1,600.
Okay, 1,600. Way too expensive, in my opinion. All right. If you knocked off 1,000, I think that's arguably what the watch could be worth. All right. But 1,600, I think, is a little bit too much. What's the accuracy of this watch, more or less? I mean, what's the, what do they say?
They say, I think, like most Seikos, I think 50 seconds here, 10 seconds there,
okay.
They're not very accurate. But one thing that actually annoying me about this watch is what I show. Is this watch. It was limited edition for 5,000 pieces.
5,000 pieces?
And after that you can show this. This is the
okay, so he's showing me this, and
then you have this new one.
Okay, so they're really, I guess, spruiking the Willard shape, and these are a lot more, I guess, right?
Yeah. So basically,
limited edition 1,200. Okay, that'll probably be north of 2,000, right?
Yeah. I think it's I think a little bit more. The
okay.
movement is a little bit different, but basically, it's the thing. It's like you couldn't get the Willard in blue. The normal standard is a green one and a black one. And if you miss opportunity to get the blue, So it's done. It was limited edition for 5,500 pieces, and it's done. Then Seiko come to you this year and say, hey, don't worry, we take care of you. It's another one that looks exactly the same glow.
Right. So I guess that's what happens when a company releases a limited edition. I mean, if it's really popular, they'll just come out with a similar limited edition later. So it's not like they're going to stick to their guns and really make it limited. All right, so as far as this watch goes, I think it's a little bit expensive at $1,600, and I think if you really like the shape and you think this could be your one watch, it could make sense. I mean, this could be a good high-end, mid to, I don't know if I'd say high-end, mid-tier beater. You know, I think I would rather for $400 more go for something like a Hydronaut, but you know, that's just me. Hydronauts aren't for everyone. Of course, Hydronauts are pretty funky. This is pretty funky. But if you really like the Willard shape, and perhaps you never were able to get an original Willard and you don't want to go vintage, then perhaps $1,600 isn't crazy. But yeah, I think that's a little too expensive. And you can buy these now?
Yeah, they're still there.
Okay.
I saw it last week, even so that it was released at limited edition already last year.
Oh, so is this a limited edition?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many pieces did they make?
5,500 worldwide.
Oh, that's way too many. And you can still buy it.
And you still can buy it.
And
you have the number in the back.
Okay.
How many pieces
and that's interesting. And they're already making different versions of it. So so this is not a watch that's going to hold value. It's just kind of a cool watch. And it's not a watch I would recommend anybody buy unless they really want this watch. If they've identified this as, like, you know, the style they like, then yeah, maybe that makes sense. But as far as, you know, speculating or a watch that holds value, I don't think this would be the watch. And I probably would say if you're looking for that one watch, unless you're pretty sure this is it, I would throw some money on top of that $1,600 and go for, well, a Rolex or at least a Tudor. So let me know what you think about the Willard reissue and all the variations that are coming out of this. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.